So guys, welcome once again to Engineering Aid. So today we will determine the depth of the concrete beam from the thumb rule. And the thumb rule actually is stated from the ACI standard, the building code, the American Concrete Institute. Actually, if you go to code 318 to 14, table 9.5a, you'll get the standards that is given to determine the depth of the concrete beam. And also we have the Indian standard, the IS standard 13920. This actually gives the width, how you can determine the width of the concrete beam using the thumb rule. And therefore the American Concrete Institute states that if you want to get the depth D, which is the depth of the concrete beam, we have W, which is the width of the concrete beam, and we have L, this, which is now the length of the concrete beam. And I have a section here, section AB. So if you cut the concrete beam AB through AB, you'll get this particular section with this now as this as bars. You can have this one as this one as top bar, this one as top bar, and we have this one here as bottom bar. Bottom bar. So that is actually the section. So the American Concrete Institute states that the depth, if you want to get the depth from the thumb rule, the depth will be given by, the depth D will be given by L over 12, or you can actually use L over 10. So it's either L over 12 or L over 10. And we also have the, actually simply what this means, L over 10, is that you take the length that you have been given, you take the length, the length of the concrete beam, and then you divide by 12 or you divide by 10. By doing so, you will get the depth of that particular beam. Like for instance, let's say we have a concrete beam length that has a span of for instance 3000 mm, that is 3 meter. So for you to get the depth, you'll have to divide by, for instance, 12. So if you divide 3000 by 12, you will actually get 250 mm, 250 mm, 250 millimeter. So that you will use this now as the depth of your beam, concrete beam. And so besides that, we also have the Indian standard code 13920. Indian standard states that if you take the length, if you take the width, then you divide by depth, you should get a factor that ranges from 0.4 to 0.45. So simply what this means is that if at all you already have the depth and you have a factor that ranges from 0.4 to 0.45, you can actually get the width by cross multiplying, in that you will have width is equal to that is F factor either 0.4 or 0.45, then actually this one you can multiply by depth for you to get the width of the concrete beam. But you cannot actually increase the width of the concrete beam for you to cater for certain safety factors, and that one now means that for factors such as, for instance, safety factor, if you take the depth, the width, and then you divide by the depth, it can actually exceed 0.4. You can even get to 0.6, 0.5, and so forth. So you are not actually tied to the 0.4, 0.4, but what it means is that it should at no point be less than 0.4. So it should be at least width here, width. What this means is that width divided by depth should actually be greater than it should actually be greater than or equal to 0.45. So anything above that 0.40, anything above that is actually safe. So and the thumb rule also states that the total number of bars used for a beam, the total number of bars should be at least 4. That is now both the top bars and the bottom bars all combined. And the thumb rule also states that the top bars should be at least 10 mm in diameter. 10 mm, what I mean is the diameter of the bars, because they normally vary. We have R6, we have D8, D10, D12. So at least it says that the top bars should be 10 millimeter diameter, and then the bottom bars should be at least 12 millimeter diameter. By the top bar, what I mean by the top bar is this, actually the sketch that we had here. These are the top bars. Their diameters should be at least 10 millimeter, and the bottom bars should be at least 12 millimeter. And also, this is actually the thumb rule, but if you want to do the design, you can actually, normally it states that the bottom bars should be at least 3. So you can actually come and add another bar here. So your bottom bars should be at least 3. But if you're talking of the thumb rule, now they should be at least 4. That is 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. But if you are to design, if you are to use the design, then the bottom bar should be at least 3 in number. Maybe something here. And before I wind up, at least I should show you something that the code also states, and it also gives the minimum concrete cover. And minimum concrete cover By concrete cover, what I mean is that thickness between the outermost part of the concrete and the bar, because actually it prevents the steel bars from corrosion, that is from dampness that leads to steel bar corrosion. So the thickness that I'm talking about is this. You see this area, all this area, the concreted area between the outermost part of the concrete and the bar. It should be at least, should be, let's say, concrete cover, concrete cover, concrete cover should be at least 15 mm. That is, now it should be greater than or equal to 15 mm. But mostly, especially in residential buildings, you'll realize that what they use is usually 25 mm. But it also depends with the structure in which you want to put up, so it varies, but it shouldn't be less than 15 mm for you to, at least for the longevity of that particular steel bar, because once it's subjected to dampness, then corrosion will actually take place, and you know that one will lead to some weak structural element of the steel. So thank you guys. You can always leave your comments so that I may also try and make it more, I can make it at least better. I can make the next videos better than this one, because it's out of practice that you actually perfect, and the corrections that have been that can actually be raised by people, that's where you try and realize the gaps and try and rectify that. So actually send in your comments. I'll try and make the next videos even better. So thank you, and please remember to subscribe, like and share. Thank you.